What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Off Topic. Here with my co-host Kadeem. How you doing on this fine Wednesday night?
Doing good. Still thawing out from the trick-or-treating last night.
Dude, that was really ridiculously cold.
It was cold.
Snowflakes in October seems early to me, but I mean we had a good time taking the kids out and everything, but damn was it cold.
I didn't get snowflakes, but I do want to say for the people who don't just hand out candy, but they also have the fire pits for people to come warm their hands. There's a place in some paradise for you.
Yeah, no, we had a couple across the street from us that had the fire pit out. That was very refreshing as we came back to the house. So yeah, obviously, hopefully everybody had a good Halloween, enjoyed yourself, enjoyed the candy and everything. Kadeem, did you get a chance to watch any Halloween movies yesterday or this week?
I'm trying to think if I got to enjoy any scary movies. I know I said I was gonna, and then I just kept watching Sopranos. I think that's all I've been. I started this show called Crapopolis, which is funny, but no,
animated.
Yeah, it's like you see it when you watch football. It's like Fox's new show.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually pretty decent, but no, I don't think I got to watch anything scary. What about you?
Last night after trick or treat, I watched Halloween 1, classic. I posted it on our Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
The intro, just had to get at least one, movie in there for the week. So yeah, I ended up watching OG Halloween last night.
Have you seen? I don't know if it's a movie or a series on Netflix called Midnight Mass.
Have not seen that. No.
It looks. I'm probably gonna watch that within the next week. It looks good.
All right. Well, next week we'll ask you about it then. Kadeem, since we were talking about Halloween, I had a couple questions for you before we get into the show.
Okay.
I want to know your favorite candy.
Okay, so we're not distinguishing between chocolate bars and candies. Like it's all candy, right?
It's all fair game. What if you had to go to the store and get your favorite candy? What is it?
The safest bet. I am a sucker for peanut M&Ms.
Classic. They're
the yellow peanut M&Ms are fantastic.
They're going to deliver every time. They're
every single
consistency
time.
Every single time. That's a safe answer. I appreciate that answer. My answer is Bunch of Crunch.
Like the little taffy rope with like the nerds on.
No. Bunch of Crunch, like Crunch bars, but small, like in balls.
Oh,
yeah, that is my favorite. I've got a box of them right now in my fridge, waiting for after the show.
Oh, hold on, wait. Crunch bars like the old blue wrapper bar.
Yes, but they're in a little ball form.
I know what you're talking about now. I actually know what you're talking about now. I haven't seen those in a long time.
I get
movies.
I get them every time I go to the movies, and then at Dollar General they sell the boxes of them. And as a Dollar General guy, I'm in there all the time.
Yeah, can't say no.
So yeah, the Bunch of Crunch is my go-to candy at the moment. My second question. Was having trouble sleeping last night, and I was thinking of this to myself. What is one wild animal you would own if it was tame?
So I get to own any animal knowing that it won't
kill you in your sleep or yada yada.
And I can house train it.
Right. It will be tamed.
I feel like the best one is going to be some type of ape. Like having an orangutan is just going to be fantastic.
That's an interesting answer from you. I thought you were going to go with a big cat.
So like I do like wolves. I love wolves, and I do really like having a tiger would be great. But having like an orangutan would be about as close to a person. Okay. Like I can actually picture him. I come downstairs and he's just watching TV. Yeah. Like doesn't fully get it, but just amused by the TV, Like
just he messing around on the remote, just changing channels and stuff.
Open the door when he wants.
I think that's a nice logical answer from you. I went with a polar bear. I don't know why, but it just would be interesting to have just a massive creature. And it's safe. Like I'm just good.
No, just what do you feed that thing?
Anything we can get our hands on.
That's the question.
I don't know. I'm so intrigued by polar bears and just how massive they are. And like
terrifying.
every now and then you'll get that random picture on your timeline of a polar bear just covered in blood with its white fur, and it's one of the most intimidating animals. So I just think it'd be super cool to have
No,
around the
I can
house.
agree.
But if I couldn't do a polar bear, I would probably get like a jaguar or a black panther. Those
Yeah.
they're just so beautiful. Like that's
Mhm.
could you imagine having like one of those cat like high rise things that they can scratch and stuff, and there's just a panther sitting at the top
No,
chilling?
it's just you got to get a new one like once a day.
Yeah, just it rips it in half, but it's happy as hell doing it. Like it's just so. Final question, Kadeem. Uh, and we've probably discussed this one before, but I couldn't sleep last night. What is your favorite book you've ever read?
Oh, you're talking to somebody who doesn't read a lot.
But in your younger days, you did read.
Here's the thing, and this is going to sound like such an excuse, and it really was. After I started law school and had to read so much every day, I just stopped reading for pleasure.
Yeah.
Like, if I read now, it's not work related, it's probably something that's short and action packed. Like, I'll read manga or I'll read a comic book, something like that. Like, I'm just not trying to read anything. Okay, no. Muhammad Ali. Not Muhammad Ali. I had to read a autobiography of Sugar Ray Robinson,
Okay.
and I just thought that was really, really cool. Especially when it went into, he had like 80 straight fights, lost one, then had like 90 straight wins or something like that. It was kind of ridiculous. So I think that was probably it.
Yeah, you being a lawyer and having to deal with all that legal text and shit, I can understand why you've kind of given up on reading for that kind of stuff. My favorite book I ever read was about Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue, called The Heroin Diaries.
Okay.
Just his story is insane. I mean, he's died twice and been brought back to life. It just very interesting. His whole story and how the rise and fame of Motley Crue was very intriguing to me at the time. When experimenting with drugs was more interesting to me also.
Right.
So I just really enjoyed that book. I would say something that I really enjoyed that I read. You mentioned comics and stuff. Reading Invincible all the way through the first time was really, really good. So I would probably lean, the Heroin Diaries or Invincible, just more recent times.
Okay.
Kadeem, before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show, we did have a listener send in a theory for us. I mentioned this to you the other day. You said you had heard of it before, but I'm going to give a little context to the listeners. And I want to, give a shout out to the Sinister Soulmates podcast. They have a great podcast over on Spotify. Great energy on their show. They ended up sending in this conspiracy theory. It's called the Crossroads. And this represents a location between worlds where supernatural spirits can be contacted and paranormal events take place. Symbolically, it means a locality where two realms touch, a place that's either here nor there. This concept has been used throughout time in such ancient religions, medieval folklore, hoodoo, and Brazilian mythology. Now, Kadeem, so where had you heard of the crossroads theory before?
So like that, we talked about it with the Robert Johnson urban legend. And then like if anybody ever watched the show Supernatural, whenever you wanted to contact a demon whenever you wanted to contact a demon to make a deal, you had to go to a crossroads to do it. I mean, and you also, I mean, you even hear that sometimes like modernly, like, I don't think modernly is a word, but you even hear that sometimes now, like that famous Bone Thug song, after Eazy died, meet me at the crossroads, So I think it's a pretty common term that I think gets used. I just think the meaning differs from time to time.
Yeah, and when I looked into it, obviously, I got more of a technical, definition of what it was.
Mhm.
But I like, you bringing up Bone Thugs and Harmony. That definitely touches home because grew up listening to that song. So throughout folklore and all kinds of stuff, this has been mentioned. Obviously, in Supernatural and in movies, it's definitely depicted a lot.
Mhm.
I thought it was interesting, and I just wanted to shout them out for bringing that up to us and giving us a little something through the email. Guys, do not forget, you can send us your theory at any time. We will obviously read it on the show like we just did for them.
Mhm.
Again, shout out to the Sinister podcast. We appreciate them listening to us. But Kadeem, it's time to get into the meat and potatoes of the podcast. Okay. Theory number 1, the Denver International Airport. Do you know anything? Do you know anything about the Denver International Airport?
I've seen a couple things.
Okay. I broke it down to 6. I didn't want to, and these are not meant to be the most descriptive thing ever. So I understand people out there who have, in-depth Denver International Airport. I don't want to be here all night. It's a lot of stuff.
Okay.
So, little background on the Denver International Airport. It opened in 1995. It was a year behind schedule, and it was $2 billion over budget. Denver International Airport is the largest airport in the United States at 53 square miles.
Damn. Okay.
Massive. One thing people will talk about a lot when it comes to the Denver International Airport, besides the strange artwork, strange way the landing areas are depicted, who actually funded the Denver International Airport? To get more into that, I have 6 topics that I'm going to touch on.
Okay.
So, starting with number 1, the Denver International Airport from a sky view gives a very similar depiction to a swastika.
I didn't know. Okay, I didn't know.
So, as you can think, people probably don't love that kind of hate symbol being in their layout.
Some people might love it, to be honest.
I mean, there are people out there who are very excited about this kind of thing, but most people aren't thrilled about swastikas being lined up as airways.
Okay.
My number 2, and this one gets more into the weeds than some of the other ones. So, and I got most of my information from the mentalfloss.com covering of the Denver International Airport. So, to read from them, the Denver International Airport was all of its artwork and everything was done through Leo Tanguma. He has a lot of different murals throughout. The names of his major artworks are Children of the World Dream of Peace and In Peace and Harmony with Nature. But the contents of these artworks is actually very frightening. Okay. There is one piece of art that has a death masked soldier with guns that are stalking children. Animals are dead and kept under the glass, and the entire world looks like it's been destroyed. As if it's already scary enough flying. To have this kind of artwork covering the airport makes it even more frightening.
Okay.
Many believe that Denver's airport features doomsday scenes like the one I just talked about. It also has etched in the floor AU and AG. Now, people will spin this theory and say AU and AG is the nod to gold and silver for Colorado's rich mining history. Mm-hmm. But some people believe that these letters represent a dangerous strain of hepatitis, that could serve as a biological weapon. These 2 symbols, coupled with the murals, have led to a conspiracy that the airport is used for biological warfare. 1 second, everybody. So, again, many of those people believe this is a hub for biological warfare.
Okay.
How do you feel so far?
I don't want to be a killjoy here. I don't want to be a killjoy. But what are we? I guess here's my thing, and this is what gets me with a lot of conspiracies, is that the belief that like whoever's doing it is bold enough to like do it right in front of our face, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like they have to leave some sort of clue for those who are smart enough to catch on to.
Okay.
Do you remember when people would talk about early seasons of CSI? How it's like, even if it was a clean kill, they would find semen somewhere. And it's like, there has to be something for us to find here. That's what it is for this. It's like, if
just wait, there's even more obvious things coming.
Okay. I'm being a killjoy right now, but maybe I'll hear something I like.
Number 3. Denver International Airport was built by a secret organization called the New World Airport Commission. To support this, there is a depicted marker/capstone that has symbols associated with the Freemasons, and obviously the Freemasons are in themselves marred with conspiracy. So their connection to this whole project brings a lot of things into question in its own right. In that same marker, there is mentions of the New World Airport Commission, a commission that does not actually exist. There is no record of them ever existing, but they are clearly on said marker in the airport.
Okay.
So that leaves people to wonder, again, who actually built the Denver International Airport. Number 4, the mysterious tunnel system. Now, obviously, this is one that is very easy to have theories upon, because it's just a massive underground tunnel system that was originally built for a state-of-the-art automated baggage system. So there was no need for people to actually work the system if it had worked correctly, but it dramatically failed and cost the airport millions of dollars. So with this, people thought that the baggage system would be built for other things, potentially as, moving things throughout the tunnels that maybe they didn't want to be seen. Number 5, the Denver International Airport is the headquarters of the New World Order. While this is a little bit more far-fetched, the supporting evidence is that the strangest of the big buildings that are buried underneath the ground at the airport. They built 5 massive buildings that have just been buried. They were not destroyed. They were not demolished. They were just buried underneath. Also, there was a whistleblower on this entire project, one of the construction workers, whose testimony is nearly impossible to find now.
Okay.
And last, and one of the more interesting parts of the actual airport, is the unofficial mascot of the Denver International Airport, the massive blue horse statue called Mustang, or by conspiracy theorists, Blucifer. The statue stands at 32 feet tall and weighs over 900 pounds. And it has these terrifying red eyes that glow. To add to its lore, the statue killed its own creator. In 2006, a piece of its head broke off and severed an artery in the creator's leg. He died.
All right.
Yep. And in his stead, his children finished the horse. So it broke apart, unfinished. The children came back and finished the horse, leading people to believe that the horse is cursed, and the symbol of its glowing red eyes are a symbol of the horsemen of the apocalypse.
That's That is a layered theory.
So now that I've laid out those 6 pieces, how do you feel about the Denver International Airport?
Not great. Not great. Here's my biggest problem with this. It's that I always say that a lot of conspiracy theories sound great until you think about them for a little bit too long.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think the airport has to be a top 10 traveled place through Denver? Every day, there are people, other than like a highway, you know what I mean? But like every day, people are taking off or arriving and departing, but also just walking through and transferring to other places.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to make up a number because I don't know how many people come through an airport, but I know it's a shit ton. Like I would say tens of thousands of people is probably safe a day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, if we're assuming that there's this new world order, why would they put it in the busiest place in the whole state? Like put it in a city hall or in a mountain lodge. Nobody sees it. Nobody knows about it. Like if this is your headquarters, a city hall or mountain lodge that only maybe a few hundred people even drive past a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it.
But like help it out here. Help me see what I'm missing.
I think that started to develop because of the just insane amount of tunneling that's underground.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that there's bunkers, there's labs, there's different there's routes to other military stations. That, not that they're real, but there's been
the belief of them.
Yes. So things like that have led to the idea that somewhere underground of the Denver International Airport, there is a headquarters for the New World Order.
That just, I want to find one of these secret society conspiracies appealing, but there are just too many holes in them.
I prefer this to Lizardmen.
I mean, I guess this is more. Here's the thing. I would, I guess I would too. My only thing is, it's like, I would then just look at the head of this society and be like, God, you guys can't do anything right. Like, how do we get the truth about everything in a secret society? You know where nobody thinks is going to be the headquarters of the New World Order? Cincinnati, Covington Airport, Dayton Airport. You know why? Because it looks like a normal freaking airport. So we're saying out of every airport in the world, the bad guys chose the ones that had the bad pictures in them?
Do you not like hiding in plain sight?
That's not hiding in plain sight, though. That's putting a glowing sign on you and saying, hey, I'm here.
Okay. Obviously, I didn't go as crazy in depth as I possibly could have.
No, I get it.
And in today's landscape of the world, the Denver International Airport, they play into all these theories a lot heavier. They've, started to give tours and things of the tunnels. They've started to really play into these theories. They have a gargoyle that will ask, if they animatronic gargoyle that'll ask, questions about, do you want to see the bunkers or do you want to do yada yada? Like it has different responses. So they've really started to play into it.
See, now you're gonna call me a hypocrite. That raises the credibility then.
That's why I wanted to bring it up at the end.
That raises the credibility then of it being bad.
Exactly.
Because now I'm thinking that in the 90s, some jackass ran the New World Order. And around 02 or 03, somebody was like, okay, people obviously know we're here. Let's throw them off the trail by saying, oh, yeah, come look at everything. Like, if you're going to make a joke about it, that slightly raises the credibility that it could be true. It's still a no. But that helps. I'll admit that helps it.
Let me see. What was her name? She took over like the PR and everything of Denver International Airport and really leaned into these things. So it changed. I think it was around 2015, I believe, is when they really started to hype up like these theories to try to play them off more. So yeah, I wanted to slide that in there at the end to see if I could reel you back in.
No, that helped. That pulled me in a little bit. I can work with that.
This one, going to go a little bit different on. Usually we talk about, these conspiracy theories that are unproven or something like that. This one I wanted to bring up because it has been proven and it was originally a conspiracy theory.
Okay.
I asked you this a little bit ago. Have you heard of MK Ultra?
I have not.
Okay, so this is this was illegal human experimentation. It was a program designed and undertaken by the CIA. It was intended to develop procedures and identify drugs that could be used for like interrogations or confessions or obviously psychological warfare. These trials began in 1953. These methods were used to manipulate its subjects' mental state, brain functions, and they were given high dosage of psychedelic drugs, such as LSD. Many of these drugs were administered without the subject's consent. They were given things like electroshocks, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, sexual abuse, and other forms of torture.
Jesus Christ.
This project was preceded by the Project Artichoke. And that was a very similar situation where they were doing more testing on humans for interrogation, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So far, what do you think about Project MK Ultra?
This is the type that even if you hadn't said like, oh, this really happened, this is the type of stuff I can believe when we're talking about anti-government conspiracy theories.
Mm-hmm.
Small group finds a small selection of people and does some pretty bad shit in the name of doing a lot of good for the country. Like you could say something like that happened last week and I'd probably believe it.
Right. So if you remember, I said it took place in 1953.
Yeah.
Where do you think the origin of this project was? Nazi Germany.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So they began some of this in the death camps, obviously, at Auschwitz and some of those places, using morphine, hallucinogens,
mm-hmm.
Things like that. Using, obviously, prisoners of war is where this all started.
Okay.
Now, moving on, this is where they came up with the truth drug, where the truth-telling serum that was being used by Soviet spies in the Cold War, things like that, came from this same program.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of bring it back all together, MK Ultra, the records for it were destroyed in the 1970s by the CIA director Richard Helms. So it was very hard to investigate and understand the lasting effects of MK Ultra and all the other related CIA programs. Like you said, this seems like something that could be happening right now.
Yeah.
And it's very, very believable.
Like you get a lot of people who, when you ask, like, or when they give their government conspiracy theories, they're like, they're putting stuff in the water that's going to make everybody trans. And it's like, okay, how does that, let's just say, for example, that was true. What benefit is there to the government? Like, that doesn't make sense. Well, this is something where you're essentially talking about just severely fucking over a couple dozen people in the name of protecting or defending, however you want to look at it, the entire nation. Like, yeah, I mean, mathematically, you can see where there's a benefit of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's done in secret. Nobody knew about it at the time. Right. We didn't find out till later. Like, yeah, this is the perfect conspiracy theory to me.
Just to bring it back to America, CIA documents suggested that the investigated methods of mind control as part of MK Ultra. They spent around $10 million dollars at the time, and that's roughly $90 million if you adjust for inflation to now. So it was definitely a very heavily funded operation.
So you mentioned truth serum. Like, is truth serum real?
It was believed to be. Obviously, it kind of, I didn't get into truth serum as much. Its truth serum is called pentothal. It was marketed as pentothal. So, although a variety of substances have been tested, serious issues have been raised about their scientifically, ethically, and legally, like them being realistically working. So I would say people are probably
selling it
50-50 about it, if it actually works or not. Because you got to take into consideration that these people were also highly abused. There was other things that took place before they were ever given the serum, probably.
Yeah, if you waterboard me, you can give me a shot of salt water, and I'm just going to tell the truth after that. Like, it doesn't matter what's in there.
So in this article, it said reliability. While there were many clinical studies of the efficiency or non-efficiency in interrogation or lie detection, there's disputed evidence in both ways. So it's not like it's been ruled out completely, but there's not a lot of hard evidence that support truth serum.
Okay. Like when I hear truth serum, I think about cartoons. You give the man a shot and instantly he can't lie anymore. And I'm like, that seems a little too good to be true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not like Wonder Woman's lasso.
I feel like if you just get somebody very intoxicated, that's going to be a form of truth serum, though.
Right, I agree. So that's what I mean is like it's hard to have legitimate results when you've already beaten, tortured, given other drugs like LSD.
Yeah.
So there's just this kid. You can go super super deep with this one. I just wanted to bring one up that was been proven to happen, and here's all the things that came from after. So obviously we believe this happens today, probably, maybe not as extreme, but at the same time, it's very possible. We don't know. And I just thought it was very interesting that we started doing this after World War II, when we know that Nazi scientists were brought over here and, put to work for us.
So I have a question for you, and it's very related to your theory.
Yes.
This is another one like this. Have you ever heard about the Tuskegee experiment?
I have, but I can't. I know the name. I don't know the details. So go ahead and give it to me.
So it starts in the 1930s and it goes till the 1970s.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it's 40 fucking years. Where the U.S. Public Health Service did a study of what happens when you give black males syphilis and don't treat it.
Yeah. Yep.
Researchers did not collect informed consent and before giving them syphilis, and then did not offer any treatment for it. So this was one I heard about in college. It says as few as 28 and perhaps up to 100 men died from this. The population consisted of 600 black men in the study. Jesus. 399 had syphilis, 201 did not, and they were the controls. So this is one I heard about, and funny enough, like it's one you'll hear brought up occasionally now. Mm-hmm. Like there was a point when in 2021 when people were looking at the demographics of the country who were and were not vaccinated, and you saw that there was a bit of a spike in black people that weren't. I don't think any group had an incredibly high rate, but I think black people were the highest at the time.
Yeah.
And you heard a lot of people say, like, well, if you look back at the Tuskegee experiment, black people don't have a lot of faith in the government treating them fair as far as healthcare.
Yes.
So it's one that a lot of people do. I don't know a lot, but it's one that isn't super unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just wondering if you heard of it because it made me think of the one you said.
Whew, man, that one's deep. I do know now that you brought that up. I do remember that now. Let's see, what did it say? 28 participants had died from the syphilis. 100 more passed away from complications related to syphilis. At least 40 of their spouses were diagnosed with syphilis, and then they passed the disease on to their children. Holy shit, that one's deep.
You could have just given them penicillin. Like that's the
isn't that kind of crazy that something as like common as penicillin just cures that? You know?
Yeah, it's a miracle. I
Yeah.
don't know the number, but I want to say it was a pretty staggering amount of lives that have been saved since penicillin has been invented. Like it was a number that almost sounds like a miracle cure all.
Isn't that what they called it?
I mean, I think it essentially is, for us now, but
how many? Let me look it up real quick so we can get that for the everybody.
Okay.
How many lives has penicillin saved? Okay, let's see. Just says millions. Let's see. Penicillin. The I just want a big number. I don't. Penicillin. Yep, we understand that. Of course, it doesn't just give me the.
This one's so I found the number 200 million. I don't know if that's true, but I'm willing to go with it.
It's a lot of fucking people.
It's crazy. You could have given somebody something like penicillin, and you just was like, let's see if this turns them into zombies, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's an extremely, obviously sad story, but also interesting at the same time. You could have just saved so many people with something simple as penicillin. Mm-hmm. Kadeem, it's been fun, man. We had a pretty solid week of our listeners, of our views on YouTube, obviously on all of our audio stream platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, Anchor, all those different places, iHeart Music, everywhere you can think of. We'll link that in the bio. Next week, Kadeem, I think we're going to have our first guest on the show.
Yeah, we are.
Somebody who's kind of a conspiracy nerd who usually kind of believes in a lot of these things. So it should be interesting what they bring to us next week.
Expect tinfoil hats, folks.
I know she's excited to come on the show. Kadeem, you got anything before we get out of here tonight?
No, next week is going to be fun. I enjoyed this as always and can't wait to see what else we find to bring to everybody.
All right, guys, this has been Off Topic, and we will see you next week.